Alright, what's up my sexy people? So this is my little fish tank right here, and in this video I'm going to discuss what I think is the most important contributions to why this tank is successful, and I'm going to first start off with the least important. First off, I think feeding is the least important. I don't think you need to feed as much as you think, and I don't think having a lot of nitrates and phosphates in your water really improves much of anything. And at the same time, if your tank is consuming nitrates and phosphates at a certain rate, I do not get why you want to overload the system. In the ocean, I think it's the best thing to do is to replicate the ocean and have all the chemicals at natural saltwater levels, and that's just my opinion. And if you look at my tank, I don't really add any food or anything, and I hardly ever feed. I only feed just to feed the hermit crabs once in a while, or the bristle worms in here, but other than that, I do not feed anything in this system. Alright, next up is dosing. I do not dose anything in this system. I do dose aminos, trace elements, and iodine maybe once a month or maybe twice a month. And then right after, I always do a water change. So every time I feed or I dose anything, usually the next day, I start doing a water change. Alright, next up, I kind of forgot about this, but you could add it anywhere you want. But filtration, I think is really important, and honestly, once your filtration is dialed down, you don't really need to have that much filtration. As long as you have your rock in there, that you're pretty much set. But I don't know, add filtration wherever you want, but I just thought of that as I'm talking right now, but it wasn't part of the list, but it made it up. Alright, so filtration is also an important thing. Water temperature and all that shit. Alright. Alright, so next up for the major contributions from least important is lighting. I think the light is followed as being the least important because your corals and your fish, they could adapt to different lights. Fish probably don't even need too much light, but your corals, they could adapt to quite a variety of lighting spectrums and different colors, different models, and all that shit. So the lighting to me is probably the next most important, followed at simultaneously by least important. But anyways, so next up after lighting, I think water flow is the next most important. I think water flow is a little bit more important when it comes to SPS corals and all types of corals, because no matter what, your corals are going to need some kind of water flow. Doesn't matter if they need a gentle water current or a very fast water current like the one you see here, but definitely your corals and all that, they need water flow. And your fish, they really love, I see a lot of fish, they swim in the water currents next to power heads and stuff. So for a fact, fish really love that water flow. But like I said, I think water flow is probably a little bit more important when it comes to your corals, because if this light, even with this light, if I change the water flow, the corals could die if I slow it down. But if I keep the same water flow, but I change the light, there's a good chance the corals could adapt to the new light, but they won't adapt to the water flow. So water flow is really important. Alright, so next up, that is kind of related to flow, and that's water chemistry. So without the water, you can't do shit. So water chemistry to me is the most important, and honestly, if your water chemistry is off, everything's going to be off. Nothing's going to ever grow. And the thing that's unique with biological creatures is that, or at least the aquatic creatures, is if you could keep these guys alive and even thrive or even breed these animals at a certain level range. Your ranges could be off, but they still have to be within a certain range in order for them to stay alive. So this little gap is what everybody that you see in the hobby that's successful is kind of riding, kind of like surfing. So you kind of have to surf this little sweet spot, this little Goldilocks spot. So for me, I managed to keep this little Goldilocks spot with the interstellar ocean salt. And like I said, whatever salt you use, like I said, you're pretty much gonna try to have parameters similar to everybody that's trying to mimic the ocean. All right, so as long as your water chemistry matches the ocean as much as possible, you should be successful in the hobby. Especially if all your major elements are pretty much in check, then you're just pretty much fine tuning and adding small minor elements just to pick up the color of the coral or maybe try to help it grow. But that falls into, like I said, to the least important, which is dosing and feeding. I think most people are overdosing and overfeeding their systems when you probably need to dial that back down a little bit. But anyways, that's pretty much all of my tips of why I'm successful with this tank. But another part that I forgot to add with filtration, that's your biological filtration that it concerns like a live sand and live rock with actual organisms that are living within them, not just the microbials, but actual tube worms and stuff like that. So I actually do have a live sand bed. So this tank, I contribute a lot of the success due to the sand bed and the rock, but a lot through the sand because I did seed the sand previously, and on another video, I believe the video is called Pet Shop Santa Cruz gave me some live sand. I don't know, I forgot what the video title was called, but I seeded this tank before I threw in the SPS corals, and definitely I feel it contributes a lot to the success because it just stabilizes a lot of the system. But anyways, much love to everybody. Thank you for tapping into this video. And like I said, hopefully I get a new light pretty soon and all that. So hopefully you guys tap in and make sure you watch my next video, alright? Because it's going to be really important. And also go watch all my archives, alright? Because they're all important. I don't repeat the same content and I try to mix it up, alright? So much love to you and all the super sexy ladies, and I'll see you guys on the next video.